Okay, we have a question from one of our listeners. And so, Danielle, I'm going to throw this question to you. How do
Okay.
you help prepare your family for Holy Week and other major Christian celebrations?
Okay, that's a great question. Okay. All right, Lauren, you've got way more kids than me, so you'll be better at this than me. But I think I overplan, because I'm the minister and I want to do this devotion and this devotion, and we've got to do all these things. And I think one of the best things we can do is slow down. Don't you think that would be the biggest to our kids, especially if we're in ministry? Whoa, mom and dad are home more. Like, we're stopping. We're not doing this. So I think leading up to Holy Week, I love, and this is going to shock anyone that knows me, I love Silent Saturday. Because when are we quiet? When do we have to wait like that? So if you're leading up to Easter, I would say don't do some things that you're doing that are good things, but maybe you don't go out to eat or you don't run around and you have some more, I think it's just being intentional. But don't be like me and try to be too intentional and then I'm a failure because I have 9 things and I'm like, we didn't finish any of them. What if we did one thing really, what if prayer was our focus and we slowed down and we prayed? What if opening the Bible, the physical Bible every day was our focus? Or maybe what if sitting down and watching The Chosen? I don't know what it is, but Lauren, I always overplan. So I'm giving permission to people like me that are great starters. That's not you, Lauren, because you finish well, but aren't great finishers. So I would say slow down and do 1 or 2 things really well. So that's what I would say. You've got the whole quiver of kids. So what would you say?
Well, I also think it depends on the ages of the kids. My husband and I were talking the other day, and it seemed to be a whole lot easier when they were younger. To have a plan,
Right.
even though it's crazy, then they get older and they're driving like mine and they have somewhere to be. So I love your idea of just, slowing down, just intentionally slowing down, because I think that would definitely help our household. But also just as a church, as a children's minister, giving something to the families that need a little extra something to help prepare on that Sunday, Palm Sunday before. One of the favorite things that I'm still hearing back now leading up to Easter this year is something we did last year. And we gave them these little boxes that the kids actually put together. And it had a little verse, just like a quick verse to read on Monday, on Tuesday. And then it had a little interactive piece that they would take out of that box, read the verse, talk about it together as a family. And that was a hit. And it was super simple. It wasn't a long chapter to read, just one verse to go along with something the kids could hold. And so that was a hit last year.
I love that. And there's all kinds of free stuff out there, Lifeway. I know, Awana's doing a free thing. There's so much free stuff, but I love the simplicity that you provide that. So
yeah, one more thing too. I haven't done it yet, but Tiny Theologians, their website, they have color pages for the younger, for your preschool, 2 to 5, and they have a little card for the parents to read out loud while the kids are coloring. And there's one to do every day leading up to Easter.
That's great, because we know when they're coloring, they're probably focused, and we can really get
That's
them
great.
to listen to this. Great ideas. Okay, thanks, Lauren. Good question.
Welcome to Sunday's Got Us Talking, a podcast and community by Lauren Brown and Danielle Bell, because faith and ministry don't stop on Sundays.
Welcome to the first episode of Sunday's Got Us Talking. We are so glad you're here. And honestly, this comes from me and Lauren's constant conversations in the car during the week. And we are not perfect. So if you've come for perfect answers, you need to find another podcast. But we can tell you that we are passionate and we just love to build community and talk about what God's doing, what we've done right. I know I can tell you a lot of things I've done wrong that you can learn from. So our first season is going to be a little short because we're new to this, but we wanted to focus on our passions. And we each come at it with some experience and a real focused passion. So Lauren Brown, my dear friend who I have had a million conversations with on Marco Polo, and I know that makes us old to you younger listeners, but on the phone and emails, just really saying, hey, read this, listen to this, I'm thinking about this. This is what we want this conversation to be. So Lauren Brown is passionate about family discipleship. So Lauren, I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself. And kind of what got you to that passion, your experience in ministry, and just personally too, something fun. And then tell us, why are you so passionate about family discipleship?
Hello, everyone. I cannot believe this is our first episode. This is crazy. But I'm so excited to be here with my friend Danielle. And as we were talking, hey, what are we going to do? And there's just so many things that happen beyond Sunday. And so we're excited to come here and be able to talk about those things. So just a little bit about myself. Danielle, I think you've heard me say this multiple times, but my 2 words are continuing conversation. So I
Yes,
love to
yes.
talk about things, talk about ministry, and my passion is family discipleship. So just to tell you a little bit about my family. So my husband, Huey, and I have been married for 22 years, and we have 3 teenagers. They are all in driving ages. So our youngest
Wow.
is 16. We have our daughter is 16. Then we have 2 boys, 17 and 19. And so 2 at home in high school and then 1 in college. So this was our first year with just 2. So even that one leaving the house just kind of changes the whole dynamic of the home. So that's a little bit about our home life. We have volleyball, we have soccer, we have church activities and camps. And so there's just a whole lot of busyness at our house, which I think every home could say.
Yes. And at least yours are driving though, Lauren. So does that help at all?
Oh, it is so nice. It is so nice. It is so nice. Sometimes I'll have them drive me around just because I don't feel like driving. But no, it is wonderful. And being in ministry and then having them serve alongside of us, it's just really fun. It's a fun age. So just to look back and even see all the ages, preschool age, elementary, middle school, high school. I'm sure we will have lots to talk about when it comes to my kids.
You're really the fruit of children's ministry too. So that's cool. So we can see just
Yes.
as it all, I love that we kind of got the span. So, all right, what about ministry? Have you been in it a minute or what?
Oh, well, yeah, I guess I should say that, right? So I've been in ministry for 20 years now. So full-time children's ministry. I've been at my current church for 8 years. And so children and family ministry is what I'm doing full-time. Love it. We have a weekday preschool program. We have a special needs program at our church. And I love everything to do with family ministry. And kind of how I shared a little bit about where I am in my family life, it kind of makes you look back and be like, okay, what would I have done differently? Or what would I tell different families? And so I think this is where my passion for family ministry has grown from. Just being able to say, okay, what worked, what didn't, how can I help other families do the same thing? And so family ministry is just at the core of my heart right now. And I think more and more churches are starting to talk about family ministry and recognizing the need for just really partnering with families to make sure that they are equipped to do discipleship at home. And so that's just where my passion comes from. I love, because I said I'm continuing conversation, any conversation that I can have with parents to say, what does discipleship look like at your house? It's just like, it's the best part of my day.
Wow. Okay. Now I'm going to pepper you with some questions. And I love that you're looking back because even though I've got a younger daughter, I'm already looking back going, ooh, I wish I would have done that different. So you're literally coming from experience of, what you would do and going with the older one. So, all right, I want to ask you some questions and anything else passion wise you want to have thrown in there. I know it's just going to spew out of you because you can't help it. So I think we always start with the negative, but let's start with the positive. When you look at churches, I know you speak at a lot of churches, you help churches start a lot of true family discipleship plans and stuff. But when you look at churches, what are you seeing? And you're like, hey, they're doing these things right. I know you said they're starting the conversation, but what else do you see that they're doing right?
Well, I think the main thing that I've noticed is that more and more churches really are realizing that they need to help equip the parents. Okay. So in the church, I think it was, let me look at my statistics so I tell you the right thing, but it's 95% of church leaders know that discipleship primarily should be happening at home. That's when parents have the most, grandparents have the most. So we can't forget grandparents. Grandparents, even though parents are the number one most influential in a child's life, grandparents are right there too. So parents, grab your parents, bring them into the conversation. That could be a whole nother episode or season later, right? Talking about
Absolutely.
But our church leaders understand and are realizing that primary source of discipleship is coming from parents and grandparents. But 85% of parents are also realizing, like, hey, it falls on me. It's not just the church. Because at one time, there was this big swing where it was drop off at church. The church is going to share the gospel. The church is going to disciple our children. But now more and more, the church and parents are realizing that it is the responsibility of the home to disciple. So I think that's a good start. We're headed in the right direction. 86 of parents believe, though, however, that they are learning things at church that they don't know how to continue that conversation at home. So we still are having a little bit of a struggle just helping parents feel equipped to continue that conversation. Go ahead and continue that conversation at home. So where we are doing great at recognizing and understanding it, I think there still is a little bit more we could work on.
I love that. I love that we're seeing that. And I'm like you. I've never met a parent that doesn't want to do it. They just don't know how. Right. And I love that your statistics prove that they want to do it. They just don't know how. All right. So secondly, okay, we're going to do the flip side. But when you speak at churches, and we're not dogging anything, because I have to constantly reevaluate and change. But what are you saying? Oh, they're missing this opportunity. What could they do better when it comes to family ministry?
Well, off the top of my head, I can think of two things. One, children's ministry teams just need a plan. I have learned more and more that accountability is key. So once you come together as a team and you're like, hey, this is how we're going to start partnering with families, we're going to start doing this. When you can put that pen to paper and create a plan, that accountability comes. So then as a team, you're able to say, okay, we know parents are needing this. So now we're going to map this out and we're going to do it. So I think that that's really good for our family ministry teams to come together. But I also think one of my favorite ways that we've been doing that is through milestones. Milestones are so much fun. And so we're sometimes missing that opportunity when they come to family dedication or when they come to get their Bible presentation, like a lot of churches are starting to implement. So that's a good thing. We're recognizing the need for it. But then we might be missing that extra step of training them how to do it. So we're really good at giving them a Bible or saying, hey, come stand on stage with us for family dedication. But are we taking that extra step and saying, hey, while you're here with us, learning about family dedication on the stage, what can we do? What can churches do to equip you to continue this at home? When those Bibles are getting presented to the kindergartners or first graders, what are we giving the parents to say, hey, this is how you continue doing this at home? So I think those are the two things, having an intentional plan and then thinking about the moments we already have the parents and say, how are we using this time to equip them?
I love that, Lauren. I don't like the accountability word. That hurts a little bit, but that plan gives us that accountability, right? Because when we come back and reevaluate, we're like, we missed the mark, and you don't know where you're going if you don't have a plan. And I love the milestones. And we just want to say that Sunday's Got Us Talking is not just a conversation, it's also a community. And Lauren and I will I'll throw up some of our milestone. I'll throw a picture of our milestone wall and resources. And so at sundaysgotustalking.com, you can find just more resources and how to practically do that. But Lauren, I've got a question for you. Family ministry obviously doesn't span just one grade or one age group. What do you do when it's, because it has to be a bridge among, like what 18-year-old or what adult do you want to lead your ministry? What do you do when it's hard to work with the ministries on either side of you? Like, what are some steps and what are some things you can do together?
Oh, goodness.
She didn't know I was going to ask that. I'm throwing that at her right now.
No, that's a great one.
That's real life,
Yeah. I mean, is it okay to tease our season 2 a little bit here?
I think you should. I think you should.
So in season 2, we're really excited just to be mapping that out and what family ministry would look like. And so we are going to talk about building this roadmap. And so when you look at kindergarten, or let's go all the way back to babies. When you go from 0 to 18 in the home and in the church, what are we doing to partner with each other? And so we are going to be talking about that, and that accountability word is going to come up a lot because when you put pen to paper, we're going to be held to do that. But you're also going to have those transitions between preschool and elementary, and then elementary and middle school and high school. And that's where our ministry teams are going to overlap. How are we leading well when we're leaving one area and going to the next? But also, if I'm in middle school and I'm a middle school minister, I'm already knowing what's happening in preschool and elementary school so that I already know where my kids might be coming from and what I need to do and how I can minister to them. So all of that's coming in season 2, but roadmap is key.
All right. I love that because we got to work together, because if we're going to do the whole adult, we got to work together. Okay, Lauren, this may be taking a little pivot of what we're looking at, but when you're looking for a church, like let's say there's listeners on here that are looking and they're moving, or when you look and they may be passionate like you about family ministry, I want, them to reach my family. What are some things they need to be looking for as they look for a church that has a strong family ministry?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. For parents that are looking for their kids to just be ministered in the church, used to, you would look for just this fun church environment. And so that's great. And I think you should be looking for that. But I think we're also looking for gospel-centered teaching. And if it's being taught on Sunday mornings and Wednesday nights, but then they're also equipping us to continue the conversation at home during the week, I think that would be key. So we're not just looking for fun and engaging, which is great. We love all of that because kids need that too. But we do want to hear the gospel being presented. We want Bible driven. We want, the teachers telling our kids to get the Bibles out and pastor telling us to get the word out and be in the word. And so I think that's really important, but also family equipping. What are we hearing words like family workshops or family equip, or are our teachers, when we pick up our kids from students or from children's ministry, saying, hey, we're going to give you this or equip you this, or a resource center for parents? Like, those are the things you're going to look for so that you will know that it's happening at church while the kids are in their Bible study classes or in their worship, but it also has resources for the parents to continue that at home. So I think that would be good. There's a statistic that tells us that when kids grow up and they're in church involvement, so they're present at church on Sundays and Wednesdays, they're there and they're loving it, but also the conversation continues at home, they're more likely to keep that faith up and own it for themselves as they get older. So I think that that's really important for you to be involved at church. Look for a church that you want to be a part of and that pulls you in to be a part of that as well. But you've got to give to it too. You've got to be willing to get up on Sunday mornings and Wednesday nights, be present, and also continue the conversations weekly at home. So you want to look for a place that I think will help you feel like discipleship is doable, like it's not
I
hard.
love that. Yeah.
That's the key. It's waking up every day. It's right what it tells us to do. And we wake up every day and we share what we're learning. We share what the Lord has done in our lives with our partner, with our husband and our wife, or with our families, with our kids. That's what we want to do. And so a church that makes that easy and doable, I think, is key.
So, Lauren, I think sometimes, there's statistics about that first impression. And so we can be greeted greatly and followed up on, but maybe not have family ministry. So I think it's okay for us to sit down with staff, right? Like if you're looking for a church, sit down. And then as us as ministry leaders, like you said, have got to be ready to answer that with, here's our roadmap, here's our resources. So I love that. Okay. Now, I want to ask you, like, I know you may have some final thoughts, but before I ask you final thoughts, I want to, like, what is one thing? I think sometimes when I listen to things like this, I'm like, she's so right. I need to do 14 things. And and again, I'm just throwing this out at you, Lauren. What is one thing somebody could do this week in ministry or this month? And then what are your final, to make it, family, an impact in family discipleship? And then what are any final thoughts you have on family discipleship?
Oh, goodness. Just one? I think
Yes,
that's the
just
hard
one, because
part.
we can do one thing well, Lauren. I cannot do a million things well. But, just what's that next step of the one thing?
I don't know if I could just pick one thing, but I can give you one thing.
Okay.
But I
Okay.
think it just depends on whatever you would want to take. Like, so I do think milestones, like for ministry, like you have the parents there, a captive audience. They're going to go anywhere for their kids. So if you're celebrating their children, you've got them. So I say, look at the next year ahead, see where you can celebrate the kids, where you would have the parents there, and say, what am I going to do there during this moment to equip them to be the primary discipleship maker in the home? So I think that's
I love
easy.
that.
Map it out over the next year. We'll talk about that in season 2 again, just to give you some ideas, because I think you might be sitting there thinking too, well, I don't even know what to do. So what does that look like? We will help you do that. So that will
So that
be
means
great.
you've got to like and subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss when season 2 drops, because Lauren is going to, with her passion, and we're going to work together with some special guests to map that out for you. But I love that. Maybe it's just a conversation. Y'all sit down and go, okay, what's coming up and how do we celebrate that? I love
Yeah.
that.
And the
All right,
other
what
thing
about,
you could do,
go ahead.
the other thing you could do just like this week is look at your Sunday morning and say, hey, am I sending anything home with them that would continue the conversation? So it doesn't have to be 6 months out, 3 months out when you have a milestone celebration, but am I currently sending anything out, whether that's on social media, a physical handout to them? What are you doing right now that could just have one question or something they could do at lunch? One of the things that we do is we pass out a little card from the Sunday lesson. So I'm in children's ministry, and you always think, oh, that ends up in the bottom of a minivan because no one ever does anything to it. But if you intentionally train your parents, you can make it work. I promise. So what we do is we staple gummies, like a bag of gummies,
Yes,
to
you
the
do.
card. And so we tell and we train and we equip the parents to say they don't get the gummies until they talk to you in the car or answer these questions. And so do every parent do it right? No, but at least we've tried. We've equipped them. We see them walking out. And so the parents talk to them, know that card is there to continue the conversation at home or in the car. And then the kids get the gummies after they have that conversation.
Lauren, I love that. Maybe some parents eat the gummies for their kids if they don't want to answer the questions.
Hey,
I'm just saying.
I
I love
would.
that. And I know we've done a camp before where they have those cards, and if they bring them back the next week, like with the parent like check mark, they were entered into something, But I
Love
love
it.
that is practical simplicity, Lauren, and I'm going to steal that in some way, shape, or form. And that's what I love about ministry leaders. We're not in competition. We are all on the same team, and I love that. All right, any final thoughts and passions, that anything you didn't get to say that you're like, I want to make sure I get to say this about family ministry?
I mean, I think for parents, if you're a parent and you're listening, it's not about perfection. It's about waking up every day and just being where the Lord has you and just be open to the conversations in the car, at the dinner table, after a sports game, after a major loss or a major win. It doesn't matter what we're doing, is every day we're waking up and we say, hey, Lord, use me, put me in the conversations that I need to be in today. So it's not perfect. You don't have to be a Bible scholar. It's okay to say, I don't know the answer to that question. Let's look that up together, because we want our kids to be curious. We can't be scared of the conversation of what questions they might ask. So just be available. It's not perfect. Ask for help. Sometimes I bring them to the pastor. I'm like, that's a great question. Let's go ask Pastor David.
Yes, you do. Yeah, take them on.
So for parents that, and then I think for the church, it's just to start looking at a plan. Like if you don't have a plan already to partner with parents, just start looking for that plan. Don't try to replace the home. We want to partner with the home.
Ooh, that is the quote right there. Don't replace the home, partner with the home. I love that. All right, now, Lauren, again, we don't want to just at Sundays Got Us Talking just be, hey, here's a bunch of talk. We want to resource you, and we have got to see a lot of fun resources over the years, and we're not paid to say any of this. These are probably ones we have used and we love. So you start with your top family discipleship resources, and then I'll share some of mine.
Yeah, I mean, and we might go back and forth. I'll throw out a few, and then when you're talking,
Okay, yeah.
I might say, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. That's a great one." But like I said earlier, Tiny Theologians, I've kind of mentioned that before, but it's a great resource, and that website has books, like board books to read, all the way from like your 0, 2, 3-year-olds, all the way up to even your 11 and 14-year-olds, your teenage years. They have something called My Symptomatic and My Apologetics, and those are just little Bible studies to do with your kids that looked at symptomatic theology and apologetics. And so they have it all ranges from 0 to 15 resources that you can do to help you disciple within the home. And so I really like it. They also have a podcast that you can listen to. So Tiny Theologians is great. I also have another podcast I love to listen to as a parent, but also as a minister, and that's the Family Discipleship Podcast. I love that when I'm in the car listening. And so those are two that are my favorite right now.
I love Tiny Theologians. If you have a little one, even as a preschooler, we got the names of God, the ABCs of names of God.
Yes.
And me and my preschooler, now you would think as a ministry leader, Lauren, that, with the letters in the alphabet, we would do one a week or one a day. We did not. It took us about a year and a half because we really focused maybe one a week, and maybe sometimes we forgot. But I didn't want her to just regurgitate names. We talked about like God is, because and I remember them, like God is all knowing. And it had a scripture on the back about what does all knowing mean. And so I even love that. And I even just told my daughter, there's going to be times that you're scared or you don't know what to do. And of course, you can always pray, but you can recite that in your head. God, you are all knowing. You are beautiful, and do that. And, that just reminds me, we usually cheer those in the car every now and then. We haven't done that in a while, which means we probably won't only get to E or F, but we need to rehearse those to keep that in their mind. But yes, Tiny Theologians all day long. One of my favorites is I love Brian Dembowczyk, and he has a new devotion out that we are actually using. It's called Faith Foundations, and we can link it on our show notes on our website, but it's 99 devotions to help your family know, love, and act like Jesus. And we're currently using it. And what I love about it, we do not use every bit, but you could really take it's kind of like those points where you ask a question, they repeat it back, kind of like a catechism. And but then it has a devotion and explains that. Okay, what is holiness? Because come on, that's so abstract. So we're explaining that to concrete minds. And so we read that, and then it's like, okay, we have simple questions. Because I think sometimes we read something, we're like, all right, we're done. But like you said, like be ready for those conversations. Kids need that safe place to discuss, because the world's going to give them answers. And if we don't sit there and wrestle with them about, yeah, holiness is hard sometimes, because that means, he's righteous and he's going to. So, and it gives you some questions, but then it actually gives you an activity you can do. We have not gotten to those yet, because even as a full-time minister, if I get 15, 20 minutes of focused time out of my little one at night, we're calling that a win. And Brian also wrote Cornerstones, which I love, which is some questions and answers, and it has a beautiful picture book for youngers. But and then it has what I love, the parent book. Like, it'll say, this is how you explain that. Because I'm not a theologian, and I do love that we get help of taking abstract faith is so abstract, and giving some concrete terms for children. So Brian's a friend. He does not ask me to say this, but anything he puts out, because I know he's the real deal, and it's easy to use, and he's passionate about the family. So I love those resources.
We had the Cornerstone books as well out in our resource center, because there's one for the parent, and then there also is a nice picture book for the kids as well. So we've resourced that. The New City Catechism book that's out, we did that at dinner, and we started it, and we're still not finished. So you're not the only one, Danielle, that starts something and it should be done in a couple of months, and it takes a year. But it's just one question, and then there's about a page and a half that answers that question on a little bit of an older scale. So it worked when my kids were teenagers. So it'd work with teenage family. And so they're just answering the questions. Like, if I was asked, who is God, what would you say? So it gives an answer, and then it gives an explanation of the answer. So we would take turns reading that at dinner. And so that was really well. I think that we have just more and more that we could think of resources, like more popping up in my head as I go. So we need to be able to share those and just be able to list those out somewhere so all of our listeners could go find it.
Yeah, we'll do that on sundaysgotustalking.com. We'll even give you the link, and you can just go purchase it. But that's the truth. I am so thankful. Ministry is so different than when I started, that we have those resources. And y'all, there's free resources too for different holidays and different stuff just to download and get, just put it in the hands. All you got to do is print, right? We can do that. So we will put that list on sundaysgotustalking.com, where you can just link and click. And Lauren, I love that you said that you're still doing it with your teens. So if you've made it this far in our podcast, thank you. And please know that you're talking to two people who are not just paid to do this at church, which is a privilege, but we're trying to work it out at home, and we are not perfect, and we just want to serve the Lord. So hopefully this has been helpful to you. So I love some passion, your passion for family ministry. And if you ever get a chance to meet Lauren, you will hear it very quickly, how she is so passionate about helping you get that roadmap started.
Yeah, Danielle, I'm really excited just to see as the episodes go on and the seasons go on in our podcast, just to be able to build those resources. I know that on our Substack, you can get subscriptions there, and we're going to have all of our show notes and then just more resources there. So just continue to check us out at Sundays Got Us Talking. But before we end, Danielle, I'd love to pray for us. I'd pray for our ministry leaders and also our families seeking to be, for these parents that are seeking to be the primary disciple makers in the home. So I'm going to pray before we go. So let's pray. Dear Lord, just thank you so much that more and more of our churches and our ministries and just even our families are recognizing the need for the home to be the primary place of discipleship, Lord. And we're just so thankful, like Danielle said just a minute ago, that we have all of these resources at our fingertips that are online, that are in other churches that we can glean from, that are already doing ministry, Lord. So we're so thankful that we have platforms like this to get on and learn, Lord. So I just pray that you teach us something new through this, that you send the Holy Spirit, Lord, is to work in our lives so that we're looking for ways that within the church we can help families, help parents, help grandparents be the disciple maker. Lord, we're just so thankful for you. We're so thankful for just you putting us in churches and in places of leadership that we get the privilege and the honor to be a part of. As parents, just even for me and Danielle, Lord, as we're in the home, Lord, help us seek every day for the gospel conversations that are presented to us in the car, while we're sitting and eating, after a hard thing that our children are going through, that we're able to point them to your love and your faithfulness, Lord. So I just pray for any of the listeners out there, for any of the parents, Lord, and just for ourselves, that we won't miss those opportunities to share the gospel and to point our kids to you, Lord. So we're thankful for this privilege and honor, and just for the friend that I have in Danielle, Lord. Just bless her life, bless this day, bless all the listeners. In your holy and precious name I pray, amen.
Thanks for joining the conversation today. Be sure to join the community at sundaysgotustalking.com. and on your favorite social media platform.